Hello, everybody. Hello. It is Saturday. Saturday, May the 2nd. Almost to the halfway mark of 2020. This year's been so crazy. 2020. Such a crazy year. May the 2nd. Today we are doing the Grandmother's Cross. This is a 12-inch quilt block. You'll need 3 different colors of fabric, and I have all of the pieces up on the screen for what you need today. So if you're watching this on the replay and you want to join in, you can pause it right here and go cut your pieces and then sew along with me. And what I usually do at the end of the video is show you the pieces for tomorrow. So if you like to catch the live videos and sew with me live, make sure you stick to the end because I'm going to show you the pieces and the block that we're doing tomorrow at the end of this video. And if you're watching along and you like making all kinds of quilts, and this series has been a lot of fun for you, then go ahead and click the subscribe button and make sure you click the bell so that you'll get notified. There's a couple settings when you click the bell. If you hit all, you'll get notified when I go live. And that's a lot of fun because we ask fun questions. Today we have this or that questions that are all about, not food, all about our personalities. This or that questions all about our personalities. So this ought to be fun. This ought to be fun. We're going to make the Grandmother's Cross today. I have my pieces all cut. We're going to wait and give everybody a chance to get notified and join in if they want to. It is Saturday, and here where I live, it's beautiful outside. So imagine a lot of us who like spending time outside. If it's nice, I imagine Saturday we're outside doing yard work and all that kinds of fun stuff. So if you're watching this on the replay, make sure you play along down in the comment section if you want to. We'd love to hear from you. I know, Connie. No food-related questions. However, on that note, I did cut my fabrics in the colorways that you see on the screen. So there's beige, brown, and pink. And so when I cut out all of my pieces and I laid them down on the board, you'll see them here in a second. Do you know what it reminded me of? Okay, you know in the ice cream section, they have the Good Humor boxes of like chocolatey eclairs. And then there's one that's a strawberry shortcake on a stick. The strawberry shortcake on a stick. That's what my fabrics remind me of today. Yes, Mimsy, thank you so much. Bill Weathers wrote a song called Grandmother's Hands. When I say Grandmother's Cross, when I say the name of the block we're doing today, immediately my mind thinks of that song. I love that song, Grandmother's Hands. Y'all will have to look that up. Bill Withers, Grandmother's Hands on YouTube if you've never heard it before. I want to thank all of my moderators as we get started for today. Thank y'all so much. I don't have to worry about my chat area. I know y'all are keeping a good eye on that. Wanda, I knew you were cleaning your room out yesterday after the live, so you've got it all organized now. Now you can function better. Very good. Very good. Well, now we're going to work on getting it messy again if you're sewing this block with me, because we're making the Grandmother's Cross. Grandmother's Cross. I just want to thank everybody for spending part of your day with me. Oh my goodness. Sally, the egg roll in a bowl. Technically, we ate it on a plate. So that was the big topic of discussion last night during dinner. Because I called it egg roll in a bowl. We ate it on a plate. And so there was a lot of joking about that. It was so good. Oh my good. I put a little bit too much ginger in it. But it was very, very good. I'm going to be making that again. It'll probably become a staple dinner. Yes, and if you have questions for me, if you put them in all caps, it makes them really easy for me to scroll through and see. That would be helpful as we get started for today. Let me go ahead and flip around the screen. Let me show you my fabrics for today. My pink is a little bit darker than the example block that was on the screen. It's a little bit darker. But when I pair it with this brown and the beige, to me that says strawberry shortcake on a stick. Now I want to go up to the store and grab some of those. Debbie, I saw a recipe for egg roll in a bowl on Facebook. I think I shared it on my personal Facebook page, like Lisa Capen, my own personal Facebook. I think I did share it there, but I'll try to share it over on the Creative Crew group too. It was delicious. It was delicious. I'll try to remember to share that recipe this afternoon. It was so good. It was really easy too. Pretty easy. Just like the quilt block we're going to be doing today. I say pretty easy. We're going to be sewing lots of 4 patches today, y'all. So we have 10 pink and 10 brown squares that measure 2 5/8 by 2 5/8. And then our background color for this block, we have one piece that measures 3 7/8 by 3 7/8. And then the large one that measures 7 1/4 by 7 1/4. And before we can ever lay out this block, we have quite a bit of pre-work to do. Okay, so we can either start on our 4 patches or we can cut apart our triangles. Let's go ahead and do that. So let's get started. Let me get a sip of water. I'm running a little bit later than we normally come on because Saturday mornings are cleaning day here at my house, and now I'm super thirsty. Yes, the inside of an egg roll is delicious. This was the same exact thing without the egg roll crunchy outside. It was good. All right, so let's get started for today. Let's start with our big piece here, the 7 1/4 by 7 1/4. We're going to be cutting this piece of fabric 2 times. All right, y'all should know this by heart if y'all have been following along. Corner to corner, cut it right in half the first time. Just like that. And then this block will flip around and we're going to cut it one more time. So that's the first thing we're going to do to get our pieces for this block. There we go. I'm going to cut it one more time. This is going to give us 4 larger beige triangles. You might be using a different color. So there's those 4 triangles. I'm going to set those off to the side. Then we're going to bring over the 2 beige squares that measure 3 7/8 by 3 7/8. I have mine stacked one right on top of the other. This set of squares we're only cutting one time, right in the middle, corner to corner. That's going to give us 4 smaller beige triangles. These smaller ones will go in the corner of our block. So that's all the cutting that we have to do. We have 4 large ones and 4 smaller ones. I'm going to give everybody a chance to catch up. And we're done cutting with our pieces. I'll move this back in. So this is the first step. Cut apart your triangles. There we go. So great to see everybody today. Hello. So today's this or that questions are all about our personalities. This or that. We'll start with number 1. I have a hard time cutting too, sitting down, Sally. But I'm wearing my Bob Ross stretchy pants and I don't really want to stand up. That's just being honest. I don't want to stand up in front of the camera right this minute. Neapolitan ice cream. Yes. Yes. I see that. I see that now too that you mentioned it. All right, this or that question number 1. With your personality, I want you to think about your personalities. What size is my ruler? This is an old ruler, Miss Cheryl. It's old. It is 5 inches wide and like 24 inches long. I'm going to hold this up to the screen because I don't know how to say that. It's got a little lip edge to it, so it just catches the edge of your cutting mat and helps you stay nice and straight. This was my great aunt's, and my great aunt was an avid lifelong quilter. And when she passed, I got lots of her fabric, a few quilting books, and this ruler. And I use it every single day. Every single day. I've had this ruler for 20 years now. Pretty amazing. Yeah, I'm super comfy, but I don't want to stand up with my stretchy pants on. I imagine this is probably how a lot of work conference calls are, right? You can't really tell that I got the stretchy pants on. Think about your personalities. Generally, would you say that you are a stubborn person, really set in your ways, or are you more easygoing? Go with the flow. Are you more stubborn or easygoing? In general, like most of the time. Most of the time. So we have our triangles all cut out and ready to go. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to mess with these pink and brown squares. There should be 10 of each. There should be 10 of each. We're going to just lay them just like this. It doesn't matter at this point if you have the pink on the left or the pink on the right. It doesn't matter. What does matter is that you use a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, make sure you've set your 1/4 inch seam allowance. We're going to sew all of these units together. We're just going to flip one fabric right onto the other. We're going to match it up nice and perfect. You can glue base them if you have a harder time working with the smaller squares. You could throw some pins in there if you need to. We're going to sew the first seam with a 1/4 inch seam allowance for all 10 units. All right. I would say in general, I am pretty easygoing most of the time. There are certain things that I can be a little stubborn about or more set in my ways, but in general, I'm pretty easygoing. All right, let's go ahead and start chain piecing these. So there's our first one. Make sure pretty sides are facing each other. Line them up as you go along. Yeah, I would say I'm pretty easygoing most of the time. Every once in a while, I can be kind of stubborn. And that's just me being honest. I can be set in my ways sometimes. Sometimes being easygoing works against me, though. Sometimes there are times when I should stand my ground a little bit more than I actually do. Sometimes I'm a little bit too easygoing. That doesn't always work in my favor. Lining these up. It's going to take me a minute to get all these sewn together. I like these fabrics paired up together. The pink and the brown, I really like that. We're getting there. I just have a few more left to do. Right? You know what I mean? Sometimes being easygoing is not always the best thing. Sometimes you got to stand your ground a little bit, right? Dig your heels in. Not all the time. Every once in a while. All right, I think we just have 2 more left to do. Yes, Diane, if you think you're right, then sometimes you do have to stand your ground, right? And I'm not big on confrontation, but some things are just worth standing your ground on, right? All right, that took a good long minute, but here are all of my 2 patches at this point. I'm gonna go ahead and warm up my old trusty iron. Time to wake up this morning. I know it's the weekend, but you gotta wake up. We're not sleeping in today. I'm just gonna cut all of the little connecting threads because for me, it's a lot easier to maneuver all of these pieces. I know some people leave these little connecting threads and then press all of their pieces with them joined. My fingers, it's easier for me to cut them all apart into separate units. When I press these, I'll be pressing them all to the brown side. To the brown side. You can press them open if you like. I always feel like I have to say that. Many of us press to the side and many of us press open. Whatever works best for you. And I'm just going to let my iron heat up a little bit and give everybody a chance to catch up. I know some of you are sewing along with me. Wow, it's so great to see everybody today. Thanks for spending part of your Saturday with me. Hazel, let's see, is that brown patterned one side and plain the other, and you're using it just plain? One side of my brown fabric has little dots on it. The other side, the dots kind of come through. I guess, you know what, in an art quilt, I'd probably use the other side. It's kind of pretty. But it is just one-sided. Do the scissors with a curved tip have a name? These little clipping scissors, We talked about this in another live. There is a name for them. And you can find them on Amazon. Does anybody remember the little name? There is a name for them. And I can't remember right off the top of my head, but you can find them on Amazon. They're really nice if you're doing embroidery, or if you like doing raw edge applique and you trim your pieces after you stitch them down. They're also great for quilting. You can cut your little threads, all kinds of ways you could use these. I forget exactly what they're called though. Does anybody know? They're really handy. Cuticle clippers. Well, I guess, yeah, they could be, but these were not marketed as cuticle clippers. I guess they would do the same things though, right? Embroidery snips. There you go. Thank you. Embroidery snips. Thank you, Miss Sally. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start pressing. I think my iron has heated up some. I'm going to go ahead and press. There should be 10 units, 10 and 2 patches. We're going to get each one of them pressed nice and flat. That's going to take me a second. I like the pink and brown. I like the pink and brown. Let's see. This or that number 2. Are you an, I think we've asked this before, early bird or night owl? Are you an early bird or a night owl? I think we've asked that question before. That's all right. Maybe many of you weren't here for that video. Early bird or night owl? I used to be a night owl. Now, as I'm getting a little bit older, I tend to be more of a morning bird. Early bird. We're moving through that pretty quick. We're moving through pretty quick. I like that pink and brown. For some reason, that's just really resonating with me today. Ordinarily, I probably would have not put these 2 colors together, or necessarily these 2 fabrics together. I probably wouldn't have done it. So let's go ahead. We need to make 2 piles. Okay, we're going to make the first pile. We'll have five 2 patches with the pink on one side. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's our first pile. And then you'll have 5. We're going to flip them around so that they mirror image each other. This is going to make up the units for our 4 patches. Just like that, 2 piles. Gonna give everybody a second to catch up. I love it that y'all are playing along with these questions. Yes, feel free to also chat with each other during our lives. The main reason why we're here, right? I used to be able to stay up late and draw. Y'all, okay, so a little history while I give time for everybody to catch up. Years ago, I was a single mom for a long, long time. And I had a full-time job and a part-time job that kept me really busy to make ends meet, right? And then on my nights off, after the kids would go to bed, I would draw portraits and sell them on eBay. So I would stay up until 3 o'clock in the morning drawing just to make ends meet. And I would sell my little portraits on eBay. It's actually a really good idea. But I haven't drawn in a very long time. But yes, I used to stay up late and it would not faze me. I'd go to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning, turn around and get up at 6, do a full day's work, some days work a part-time job after that, go home, do all the homework and the baths and all that stuff, and then stay up after they went to bed and draw. It did not faze me at all. Now, I would not be able to do that now. I just wouldn't. I just would not be able to hold those same hours as I did when I was younger. Now I'm more of a morning, get up early and not necessarily go to bed early, but be chilling out, not working in the evenings. All right, so we have a stack of 5 and a stack of 5, 2 patches. You're so right, Sally. I think I was truly motivated to take care of business, right? I had to do what I had to do to make ends meet. And that's what I did for a very, very, very long time. It was a long time. All right, so the next thing we're going to do, let's go ahead and move on to, let's see, 1, 2, 3. This or that number 3. Would you say generally you're an organized person or kind of a messy person in general? Yes, I did what I had to do. I did portraits back then. Back then I was really into country music. And my favorite singer at that time was Toby Keith. I could draw Toby Keith like he was sitting in the same room with you. Not trying to brag, but I got really good at drawing his portrait. And at the time, he was so popular and is probably against the rules now. But I was selling portraits of Toby Keith, all of the Kenny Chesney, all kinds of popular country singers at the time. Probably can't do that anymore. I don't know if you can do that. In general, are you an organized person or a little messy? Maybe you're a lot messy. Maybe you're really super duper organized. I think that's a great, all different shades in between. But would you say you're organized or messy? All right, to move on, we're going to sew these units together. We're going to flip one right around. We're going to pair it up with one on the other side because I've pressed all of my seams to the brown fabric. When you pair them up, they're going in opposite directions, and that seam will really just catch right in the middle. That's the seam that we're going to try to match up as we sew these together. So there's our first one. So there will be 5 4 patches in this block. It's so great to see y'all today. I can't believe today is the 40th quilt block. If y'all would have asked me back in January, do you think you'll do, or how many live videos do you think you'll do on YouTube this year? I would have said maybe 5. 40 in a row today. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with me. 40 videos in a row. I would have never guessed. Yes, I will tell you as soon as I'm done the finished size of these 4 patches, in case you need to square them up. We've got one more. I know, 40. Holy smokes. 40 blocks. I don't even want to say how many more I think we have left to go before Virginia opens up. We're probably at the halfway mark. I don't know. All right, there's our 4 patches all sewn together. Let me get them pressed and then I'll measure them and let you know the finished size of each one of these 4 patches. Snip, 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 and snip. Y'all might get tired of hearing me say this, but I love the pink and browns together. I'm gonna have to remember that. Isn't that cute? I'll measure them as soon as I get all 5 pressed. I like those little 4 patches so much. Sometimes, some of these blocks I've been like, yes, I really like the fabrics I picked out for this block. Some of them, just being truthful, I wish I would have thought about my color choices a little bit more before making the block, because I wasn't totally happy with the fabric choices. This block, I think I'm loving my fabric choices for this block. Ooh, that's hot. All right, I've got one left to do. Ooh, and that one's hot too. Let me get one that's cooled off. I know, we talked several weeks ago about jumping in with both feet. That's what we've done. That's what we've done, right? Let's see. Let's measure this block. Dun, 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 dun. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6/8. That's gonna sound crazy. 4 6/8 by 4 6/8. That's how big, if you need to square up these 4 patches, that's how big they need to be. And that's because in this block, they're not going like this. We're putting them on point with triangles. So the measurement, the finished size, 4 6/8. Sounds crazy, right? that's where we are. I'm going to give everybody a chance to catch up. Fit that in the screen, Lisa. There you go. This is all of our pieces for this block. Strawberries and chocolate. Yes, that's what it looks like. I love it. Y'all are so welcome. Y'all are welcome. It's been a lot of fun for me. Oh, 4 3/4. Yeah, let me do that again. Yes, I'm sorry. I made that really confusing. 4 3/4. 4 3/4. Come on, Lisa. It doesn't have to be that complicated. Thank y'all. Thank y'all for keeping me straight. I wanted to make it really complicated, didn't I? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Our fourth, this or that, personality-wise. In general, would you say you're a sensitive person? Or a little bit on the tougher side, in general? Are you sensitive or a little bit tough? I'd say in general, I lean on the very sensitive side. I tend to wear my feelings on my sleeves. I try not to, but that's just part of who I am. I tend to be on the sensitive side. I cry at commercials. Some days I scroll through Facebook and cry at some of the posts. Some of the posts, y'all, aren't even sad. They aren't even sad. They're happy posts. Some days it's worse than others. I'm going to go ahead and start laying out this block. All right, everybody, let's start with the simplest thing. The simplest thing is the smaller, not the bigger, the smaller beige triangles. Those go in our 4 corners. So just like this and this, this, and this. This just sort of frames in our block in the 4 corners. Let's bring in our larger triangles. The triangle has 3 sides. There's 2 shorter sides and a longer side. The longer side is what's going to go along the edge of our block. And right now it's going to look really crazy because I'm trying to fit all of these pieces onto this smaller gray mat. So it's going to look a little crazy. Plus we have our seam allowances in there, so everything's going to overlap. So just like this and that. And then we take our 4 patches. So I guess you could really, it's really up to you. You could lay them. Miss Cindy. Thank you so much, Cindy. Thank you. See, this is where the sensitive part comes in because I could cry at the drop of a hat. At this point, you could really decide, do you want your dark squares this way, which is the way that the example block shows. Just like this. Ooh, that's so pretty. Or I guess you really could, if you liked it better, switch your pink to this side and have your pink towards the outer edge over here. Or does it matter? Because depending on which side of the block you look at, it doesn't much matter, does it? My mind is just trying to make things so much more complicated. This is the layout for our block today, y'all. And I guess it does not much matter. You just want to make sure that all of them are going the same direction, right? If you flip it this way, it looks different. If you flip it back, it looks different. Oh, it feels like a Monday. It doesn't feel like a Saturday to me. So this is where we are. I'm going to give you all a few minutes to catch up because the way my mind wants to sew this together, I want you to be able to pay attention. Are you more sensitive? Or are you a little bit on the tougher side? Sometimes I wish I wasn't so sensitive or as sensitive. Hello, everybody. I'm so glad y'all are able to join me today. Yes, I am. Let's see. Yeah, we can ask another one. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. The fifth, this or that for today. Would you say generally that you're indecisive or decisive? I would say I make choices pretty quick unless we're talking about where we want to go eat. I'm very indecisive when it's time to pick out a place to go eat. Harlan will say, where do you want to go for dinner? And I'll say, it doesn't matter. I can't make up my mind. And he'll say, you want to go to Taco Bell? And I'm like, no, I don't feel like Taco Bell. He'll say, you want pizza? No, I don't want pizza. You want Subway? No, I don't want Subway. I have a hard time making up my mind when it comes to choices like that. Bye, Miss Chantel. Thank you so much for moderating our chat today. What time did this start? Let's see. Is there a way to figure that out? Dun, 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 dun. We've been going for 44 minutes. So, in the 12 o'clock hour. We're about halfway done with this block. We're getting ready to sew all the pieces together. So I'm hoping that everybody who's sewing with me live has their block pieces laid out. The very first thing we're going to do, and I'm going to sort of deconstruct this and move the pieces down a little bit, because I want you to see this in rows. Just like that. We're going to sew together this as a row. Just diagonally across the block like that. So you can start on either side, but what I want you to pay attention to is when you flip your triangle over onto your 4-patch, we're lining up our pieces with the bottom of our 4-patch, okay? You're going to have a little tag that extends beyond your 4-patch. So you're going to flip it over just like this. You're going to match up this raw edge and this raw edge. This is a great time, if you're like me, to go ahead and mark that seam so that you don't lose which seam you're sewing, because you don't want to accidentally sew this one. We're sewing this one with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Let's get it lined up, and we'll sew that one. Now I'm not going to press that yet. There's our first seam. I'm just going to finger press this one right out of the way. We're just finger pressing that right over to the side. We're going to add the opposite triangle. The questions so far, they're all, I want you to think about your personality. They're this or that questions based on your personality. Would you say you're stubborn or easygoing? An early bird or a night owl? Organized or messy? Sensitive like me or tough? And indecisive or decisive? All right, we're going to flip this other triangle over. We're going to match up this raw edge at the bottom of our 4-patch and that raw edge. Just going to give that a little mark right there close to the edge. And we're going to sew that connecting seam right there, 1/4 inch seam allowance. So here is our piece, okay? I'm going to go ahead and press these 2 seams. Because of this middle seam right here in our 4-patch, my seam just wants to naturally go over towards the triangle. That's how I'm going to press mine. So look at there. There's our first row for this block. I am not trimming off my little ears yet. We're just going to leave those on there. So the next thing we can do is we can go ahead and add this little corner triangle. I want you to note the little point at the top of your triangle. When we flip this over onto the 4-patch, I want you to line up the corner tip of your triangle to that middle seam that runs through your 4-patch. That'll give you a great placement for this triangle, and it takes out the guesswork, right? You're going to have little tags that stick over the end, and that's supposed to be there. We're going to sew that seam with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So here's that seam, and at this point, if you want to go ahead and trim off these little tags, you can do that. I'm just going to leave mine on. I'm going to finger press that right over, just like that, and give it a press. So she's coming together very nicely, just like that. She's so pretty. Now, y'all, I know I'm moving right along, and I might be moving faster than you are. And if you have a hard time keeping up, then what you might want to do is come back once we're all done, and then catch the video up to where you are, and then you can pause it and do the step if you have questions about what we're doing. Now we're going to join this longer row that goes right through the middle. So let me separate these pieces a little bit. Just like that. This little corner, just like we did up here, we're going to flip the triangle right over onto our 4-patch, and the tip of our triangle is going to line up with that middle seam in our 4-patch. Gives us the perfect placement. We're going to sew that seam with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And for right now, I'm just going to finger press that over to the side. I'm going to press this all at one time once I've connected all of the pieces. So there's our other corner right there. We're going to add this 4 patch. Just like this. Line up that middle seam. Throw some pins in there if you need to keep it lined up. While we're here, I'm going to go ahead and finger press that over. We're going to bring in this other 4 patch that goes in this row. Let's double check it before we flip it and sew it. It'd be real easy to sew it the wrong way, right? Let's make sure that it goes the right way. Flip it over. Line everything up. So this is where we are, and we have this other, we have our third cornered triangle. We're going to flip it over onto the 4 patch, line up that raw edge and the tip of our triangle to that middle seam. And this is the last seam for this row. And now we have the long middle row. I'm going to go ahead and take these over and press them. Let's see. All right, we're coming along, coming along. I think this is the first time we've put together a quilt block like this in this series, isn't it? It's so pretty. There we go. That's pretty. Gonna give you a second. Our next this or that question. Would you say you're open-minded or closed-minded? In general, I'm very open-minded. There are some things that I could be closed-minded about. I guess it depends on the circumstances, but generally, I'm pretty open-minded. Catherine, my day is great so far. It's sunny outside, and I've been doing some housework, but it's great. How was your day? Generally, would you say you're open-minded or closed-minded? We're coming right down to this little shorter row, just like we did for this one. We're flipping this triangle over, and we want to line up the raw edge here and the raw edge there, and this is the seam we're sewing. I'll go ahead and mark that. I'm going to bring that back over and just finger press that out of the way for a minute. We're adding this other triangle on the other side. We're going to flip it right over. Line up those raw edges here and there. And this is the seam we are sewing. So here is that row. I'll be pressing mine over towards the triangles. And we're moving right along, There's that row. We're going to add this last triangle. We're flipping it over to our 4 patch. Matching up this edge and that middle tip to the middle seam of that 4 patch. And bring that over as a section. I'm going to open that up, just finger press it and give that a nice press, nice and flat. And then at this point we have 2 more seams to finish up this block. She's so pretty. I like the pink and the brown. What brand of thread do I use to piece? I think everybody loves different threads, right? And I think it really depends on what your machine likes. Because not all machines are the same, right? Sometimes they get picky over thread. My Juki, however, I'm using thread from AK Trading Company. I find it on Amazon. Comes in so many colors. It is a polyester thread. And it comes on the larger cones, and I use a thread stand. And lucky enough for me, my Juki loves this thread, and my Knolting loves quilting with this thread. My Singer patchwork machine does not like this thread. She don't like it. But these 2 machines love it. So I think a lot of it comes down to what does your machine like, right? I also like the YLI universal thread. Both machines love it. They love to piece with it and they love to quilt with it. We have 2 more seams. We have 1 more this or that. Let's go ahead and ask that. Our last this or that. Would you say, generally, are you an idealistic person or a realistic person? I have lots and lots and lots of what I think are fabulous ideas. But if I was more realistic, they're probably not that great of an idea. I would say I'm more idealistic than realistic. Catherine says, your Jukis are a pain for a thread. She's changed her thread 3 different times. 3 different threads. I use a polyester thread to piece my quilts. I know traditionally they say use the cotton thread, right? My machine likes the polyester threads. All right. Libby says she's realistic with idealistic tendencies. That's a good way to put it. All right, we have 2 more seams to finish this up. Now, if you're someone who likes to pin, and this is probably going to be a great time to break out the pins. We're going to flip over this whole corner section right onto this middle row. When you do that, I think what's really important to focus on are the seams from your 4-patch, matching those up with that middle 4-patch on the row underneath of it, right? So if you want to throw some pins in there to keep that lined up, that might be helpful for you. You'll have little tails of your triangles that stick out at the edge of your block, and that's okay. That's what it's supposed to do. And we're going to sew this connecting seam right there with a 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way from one side to the other. I'm going to live dangerously on the wild side and not use any pins. I'm just going to match those seams up right in the middle. Match up that raw edge and sew from one side to the other. All right. Let's give this a press open. Right now I'm just going to finger press it. So here's my, let's go ahead and set that seam though first. I'm just going to hit it with the iron and set that seam really quick. And now we're going to flip this whole section over and just finger press it down in place. Just like that. And I'm going to press that seam nice and flat. Grandmother's Cross. I like this block a lot. I think I'm going to nickname mine Strawberry Shortcake though. So there we go. We have 1 more seam to sew at this point. We're going to turn around and do the same exact thing with this triangle portion of the block. We're going to flip it right over. It's going to be the most important to match up these seams with our 4-patch to those seams of that middle 4-patch in the middle of our block. Just like that. This is our last seam for this block. Just checking as you sew right along. Checking those seams. And I'm going to go ahead and set that seam, open that up and give it a press. And we'll have the big reveal of our finished grandmother's cross block. I think she's pretty. She's pretty. She's a pretty one. So there we go. You'll notice I have all the little ears around my block. Now would be a great time to go ahead and trim those off. Ta-da! Isn't she so pretty? Little threads everywhere. There we go. Isn't she so pretty? I'm so glad I went with the pinks and browns with this block. You're so welcome. You're so welcome. Thank you for spending time with me. I hope y'all are having as much fun as I am. Can you all believe 40 quilt? This is the 40th quilt block. The 40th quilt block. That's a lot of quilt blocks, y'all. That's a lot of ideas for other quilts too, right? That's a lot of ideas for other quilts. Yes, Kim, I was saying over on Facebook too that this would be done if you did it scrappy in different colors. That would be so fantastic. So I don't know, I think I forgot to show you some examples of what this quilt would look like. And I know it's a little small on the screen. On point or set in rows, the grandmother's cross. That's what it would look like if you put it together in rows or on point. She's a pretty quilt block. She's pretty. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, she did turn out pretty straight, right? I would just only really need to square up the sides a tiny, tiny little bit, mostly just to get rid of the little ears that stick off the edges. I got her pretty straight. Sometimes it works out that way, not all the time. Sometimes. So yes. The grandmother's cross. 12-inch quilt block, y'all. Those of you who are converting the other size blocks to a 12-inch, here you go. Here's a 12-inch quilt block ready for you to sew together. Now, before we go, I want to be able to leave the pieces up for tomorrow on the screen for a few minutes before we finish up. I know lots of y'all are taking notes, making your own journals and quilt books. So I want to make sure to give you tomorrow's pieces. Tomorrow we're making the Bouncing Betty quilt block. It's an 8-inch quilt block. You'll need 3 colors. I have them up on the screen, and here in a second I'm going to show you some examples of some things you could do with the Bouncing Betty quilt block. Bouncing Betty, that's tomorrow's, the 41st quilt block. Oh, Catherine, I'm going to tell you, I did a review on this machine shortly after I got it. I'm going to tell you I love this machine. There's one little thing that I don't like so much about it. Those of you who are writing down pieces, I'm going to pull them up. I'll pull them right back. I want to show Catherine the one thing I don't like about this machine. There's a little lip with the plate, the metal plate. Your seam allowances want to catch that little lip and flip the wrong side when you're sewing. So you have to be really mindful. A lot of the times I'll put a piece of painter's tape over that to kind of get rid of that lip. I don't have it here for the videos because, yeah, you know. So I'm just really mindful of that. Sometimes you'll see me catching that and flipping that seam, but it catches the seams. And that's the one thing I don't like about this machine. Other than that, I love everything else about her. Reminds you of Betty Boop. Aw, yeah. Is it the colors that remind you of Betty Boop? Carol, yours has the little lip on the plate too. I think that's annoying. It's super annoying to me. That little lip is super annoying. Most of the time, if I have a lot of piecing to do in a day, I'll be like, okay, because that just slows me down. I'll throw some painter's tape right over that lip and I don't have to worry about it. Other than that, she does a fantastic job. She's got all kinds of stitches, all kinds of decorative stitches. One of my favorite features is pushing button number 2. As soon as I turn on my machine, it just does my 1/4 inch seam allowance and I'm ready to go. That's probably my favorite feature. So let me give you some examples of Bouncing Betty and how you could lay this out as a quilt. So I did 2 examples with Bouncing Betty. Same block, just laid out in 2 different ways. Certainly there's other ways you could lay this out too to get a totally different look, but this is 2 different ways you could lay out this block. I like them both. If you look, the quilt on the right sort of forms a slanted star. If you look at the reds, there's kind of a slanted star that shows up. And then the quilt on the left, you've got your squares and squares that show up, right? And hourglasses. Pretty fantastic either way. Oh, Carol, yours doesn't have the automatic 1/4 inch seam. Yeah, I think each different version, there's like a 3, a 4, and a 600 or something like that. I think each one has different features, but I didn't even know mine did that until after I got it. I really bought the machine for 2 reasons. Well, several reasons. She sews through some heavy-duty fabric, right? You can also lower the feed dogs. I like the size of the extension table. And I thought I would really use the knee lift that comes with it, but I don't. I don't use that at all. I tried to, but I'm just not coordinated. My mind doesn't want to be able to use that. Oh, it looks like footballs. I see it. Also, I see the footballs. I do. And also, looking on my phone, the quilt on the left makes a star too with the red pieces. If you see the red star on the quilt on the left, that pops up. That's cool. I like that. Gwen has some great tips for the grandmother's cross. It was designed to be on point. And her second tip is you can make a bunch of 4 patches ahead of time by pre-cutting and sewing your leaders and enders. Yes, that is so true, Gwen. Yes. I'm not that coordinated enough. I'm not that organized to have a little stack of pre-cuts next to my machine to use as leaders and enders. Carol, yours didn't come with the knee lift, but it's an option. You can add it. A lot of people love their knee lift. I thought I would because I do lots of applique. I thought it would really free up my hands, but naturally I'm in a habit of raising that presser foot by myself. Brenda says her Janome machines have the center position. Oh, Barbara, are you going to use your Betty Boot fabric for this block? Stitch Penny says the colors you've chosen show the possibilities for a lovely Christmas quilts. Wow, you're so right now that you say that. I see that. That's awesome. See, I love it when you get a whole group of creatives together because you get so many ideas that you probably might not have ever thought of on your own. Oh, Susan uses her knee lift. I tried. My brain wouldn't let me do it. Oh, Susan says hers sews through fleece jackets to make her bears. Yeah, she sews through some heavy duty stuff. I had watched a review on this machine and she took like 7 layers of denim and sewed a seam right through them. 7 layers of denim. And I was like, yes, okay, so that machine works for me because I love putting denim in my quilts. And I don't use 7 layers of denim to do it. So that pretty much sold me on my machine. Bouncing Betties. Here's all the pieces. Y'all, if you missed the pieces for today, come back on the replay. You'll be able to pause the screen then and write them all down. Just letting you know, in case this might be your very first time you're here, hello. If you open up the description box of this video, there's a link to the playlist where you'll find all 40 videos in one place. Every quilt block you see behind me has a video. They're longer videos, y'all. They're not the short, quick, fast 3-minute tutorials that shows you quick how to do it. But I really take my time. We sew the blocks together and we ask some fun questions and we just really hang out and have fun. If you lower your feed dogs, then I can do heavier fabrics? ? Miss Wanda, when you lower your feed dogs, what'll happen is you'll be able to do free motion quilting a lot easier than if your feed dogs are in the up position. Right, Lulu? The quilt on the left, the more I sit here and look at it, the more different patterns that show up. I see a great big diamond, sort of a cross with diamonds, the red stars, the hourglasses. I see a cross with the reds. Yeah, the more I look at it, the more patterns that show up. I love that. Y'all are so welcome. You are so welcome. I'm having a lot of fun in this series. Zella, that's really why I wanted the knee lift. But my mind, I was still reaching behind the machine and moving my knee at the same time. I'm like, this is just, it's a good workout. But my finger still reached over to lift up the little lever. I gave it a good, honest try. All right, everybody. This is for video number 41. We'll be doing this Sunday tomorrow. This is my finished grandmother's cross. I want to call it my strawberry shortcake block. I look forward to putting this up on the wall. Stitch pennies. It depends on your sewing machine. The Juki has a little dial on the back, and I can adjust the pressure of my presser foot. Yeah, some older machines have a little metal piece up at the top with a slit in it that you can take a screwdriver and adjust the pressure of your presser foot. So it varies from machine to machine if you can do it or not. Y'all are so welcome. Y'all are so welcome. I'm having a lot of fun. I'm having a lot of fun. Oh, Mimsy, you're working tomorrow. Yeah, you'll just have to come back on the replay. I know that might not be as fun as sitting here chatting with everybody. Sometimes, yeah. Y'all are so, so welcome. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Saturday. If it's nice, go sit outside for a little bit. Get some fresh air. Open up the windows. That's what we did. I'm going to go sit on the deck for a little bit now that it's shaded over. I don't want to sit in the sun, but the shade goes over our deck right about now. So I'm going to go sit outside for a little bit. Sally, you're going to go make strawberry shortcake. Share pictures of it. I want to see your strawberry shortcake. I'll try to remember my egg roll in a bowl recipe too. Try to remember that here shortly. All right, everybody. I've had so much fun spending time with you today. I love this quilt block. I know, Sally, I didn't bring up the food. Sally did. Sally brought up the food this time. Yes, Wanda, with some sweet tea, iced tea on the back porch. Sounds like a great afternoon to me. I'll see y'all all tomorrow. Bye, everybody.